Welcome to Orange County Power Players, where we spotlight the personal, professional, and financial success stories of OC's top leaders. Here's your host, Danny Flores.
Welcome back to OC Power Players, where I interview some of the most successful people in Orange County. Today's honored guest is John Tackman, zooming in from Dubuque, Iowa. John is a pharmacy benefits manager, subject matter expert, and has been in sales for 15 years. He's an entrepreneur in Orange County, owning two businesses, one car collecting business and another UPS store. Welcome, John.
Thanks, Danny. Great to be here.
So tell us a little bit about the pharmacy business and how that works and how it benefits employees.
Sure. So the pharmacy benefit management business or industry rather is a segment of the insurance employee benefits insurance market that focuses around the acquisition and access of medications, both from pharmaceutical manufacturers through employee benefits plans to members of those employee benefits plans. So employer A could come to our company, MedOne, which provides pharmacy benefit management services, ask us to provide a plan that allows their employees and their members to access the lowest cost medications within the marketplace.
So now as they set these up, does this kind of make it a second part to just having the medical insurance? So if they go to the doctor through the medical insurance, they get the medicine through you guys, a second part to their benefit package?
Yeah, so the way most people think about pharmacy benefit management is that they think of it as their copay, their drug copay, right? And so you go
Mm-hmm.
to your physician, they write you a prescription for, Z-Pak or what have you for an antibiotic or whatever, and you go to the
Mm-hmm.
CVS pharmacy, Walgreens, what have you, and
Mm-hmm.
you fill that prescription. Most people don't understand that there's a back-end player to it that's helping them either access it more affordably or preventing or providing them some sort of directive as far as whether or not it's a high-cost medication or a low-cost medication. The industry has had a lot of regulatory changes over the last few years. It's something that Trump talks about quite often. It's something that is on everybody's mind, drug prices, right? How can we keep affording these, 6-7 figure drug prices and so forth? The way our company works is making sure that we're focusing on the lowest cost access to all the medications that are available. And so we really want members to focus in on being consumers and being educated. And so we want them to
Mm-hmm.
make sure that they are able to have those abilities and options at their disposal. So when you think about pharmacy benefit management, a lot of people don't understand that this is happening all in the background when they go to the pharmacy and purchase their medication. It is a subset of what is offered under ACA, and so it is a requirement for employers to offer this as a conjunction with their medical benefit plan.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think employees don't even know that there's something going on in the background. It just all seems like it's just one-stop shop kind of a thing.
Mhm.
Now you mentioned that all employers have to offer this. Does that mean from employers that might have only one or two employees to thousands of employees?
Yeah, Danny. So that's a good question. So yes, according to ACA or anything over 5 employees, I believe has to have an offering of some sort of medical insurance. When you get into my space, you're generally talking about employers with thousands of employees and then thousands of members on top of that. I happen to work in a space where most employers are probably over 5 to 10,000 employees, and they're offering this kind of insurance to their entire employee population. And depending on what PBM you're going with, it depends on a lot about, what drugs you have access to, how you're managing the actual drug spend there, and then what you're providing as far as benefits to the actual members.
Yeah, it would seem like with that many employees, a company can actually maybe get a lot of cost savings in going, say, with you guys to be able to reduce the cost of the medication.
Yeah, the idea is honestly, when you look at an employer who has 10,000 or more employees, or any sort of large employer in general, they have more options than the smaller employers do, just because they can make those pivots and changes. They have a team of experts, HR staff at their disposal, so they can help with
Mhm.
making decisions and kind of navigating what makes sense for their plan offering, all within the Affordable Care Act as far as the parameters of that, and in conjunction with ERISA, of course, as well, which is another act that's been in place for employee benefits. So our team comes into place and says, this is the utilization we see today. this is the utilization you could see under Med One, and it's generally going to be reduced spend because we're looking for swapping out therapeutic equivalents. The best example I can give for anybody is that you can take Advil or you can take ibuprofen. They're the exact same medication. One's a brand, one's a generic, right? The generic or the store branded ones tends to cost a lot less than the actual branded one, Advil. Same thing happens with drugs that are branded, right? You have Humira versus Yusimry and things like that, where you could be seeing thousands of dollars in difference in drug pricing. It just doesn't get communicated well by the larger PBMs that are in industry that are where most of the scrutiny is under fire. The CVSs, the Express Scripts, and the Optums.
Yeah, and like you said, it could be the same thing, right? You take something generic, it just won't cost a lot less, and the other one costs a lot more because it's branded versus not branded.
Yep, right.
Does the insurance require to use the non-branded versus the branded to try to save cost, or how does that work? Who determines which one you're going to use, or is it the physician that does that?
Well, in our situation, it's a conjunction of us and the physician trying to work with the member to see what medications will treat their particular conditions and what therapy they need under their own regimen. And so, yes, it is a requirement of whether or not Med1 or PBM decides that the medication should be covered or shouldn't be covered based on the parameters that are set in force by not only the PBM, but also the benefits package. So an employer will, essentially work with us to implement a plan that has certain parameters in it. So the employer has the option to say, yes, I want the brands to be preferred, or no, I want the generics to be preferred. Most of the time, employers say yes, try to get the generics to be taken first. Obviously, they're lower cost. That keeps cost off of my bucket as well. And it's better for the member as well.
Now, how competitive is it for you in Met One as a business to acquire a large employer as an account?
It's a highly competitive market. So there are 3 large PBMs in the marketplace: CVS, Express Scripts, and Optum that I mentioned earlier. They control up to about 80% of the scripts that are filled in-house today. It's something that Mark Cuban talks about all the time. It is what has gotten us to the situation that we have gotten to, where there are grossly inflated drug prices because those PBMs act in a model that they make money based off of the price of the drug. So they have no other incentive other than to keep these prices to go higher and higher and higher. Look, if anything that Mark Cuban has done in the last 2 years, and he will constantly be bashing the big PBMs for the same messaging. I work for an opposite side of PBM, right, where we don't make any money off of the actual price of the medication. So we are there trying to steer members into the lower cost alternatives to help the employee benefits plan. And so the advantages of that are more flexibility, more autonomy over your plan. You're being a better fiduciary, which is a big concern and discussion point right now. And then there's a lot of talk about direct-to-consumer programs as well that are going to be put into place.
Now, did you say on the first one they control 80% of the market?
CVS, Express Scripts, and Optum control 80% of the market today.
That's why they can control the price as well.
That's correct.
That's interesting. Okay, so then you being in the industry, what would it take to put downward pressure on these firms so that they can lose some market share and perhaps become competitive? And at the same time, that would in turn make it more cost effective for the patients and for the companies.
It's already sort of happening now. There's a very large trend going towards transparency. PBMs who work in the best interest of the employers, providing them with the lowest cost alternatives, these medications, and sharing with them all of the data and decisions that they've made along the way to make sure that they understand why the PBM or why Med1 in this particular situation has chosen or pushed forward another medication versus another one.
Right.
The CVSs, the Express Scripts, and the Optums of the world have gained a lot of scrutiny because they don't share that information. They just provide them with the discounts and rebates. And unfortunately, in the space that we're in, where a lot of employers have been trained, as it were, to look at, give me the best discounts off these medications and the best rebates, which is a return on the medications they're purchasing, right? It's kind of like a reverse discount, if you will.
Right.
And that made sense at one point. But when you start thinking about, like, what are you getting a discount off of? If I provide you 20% off of a $100 drug, you're going to be paying $80. Sounds great, right? But what if you only needed a $20 drug and you're getting an 18% discount? Sure, the discount is less, but you're purchasing a medication that is also less as well. So in the end, net net, you are actually you want to look for those cheaper medications anyways.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And it's just like when you go to the store and they put sale tags on a $400 pair of shoes, and you're like, wait, I'm getting it for sale. I'm only paying $300. Last
Mhm.
week they were only $100 and they weren't on sale, but they'll sell more because they have a sales tag versus being just regular priced.
Yep, jack up the price and make that
Yeah,
percentage share in the same value.
right. Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So it almost seems like people need to get a little bit educated.
There is a lot of education that needs to happen. And over the last, I would say, decade, there has been more and more pressure for people to stand up and vote with not only their dollars as an employer, but also say, we're sort of sick and tired of these inflated drug prices. And it's
Hmm.
the levee is going to break here soon. And where
Hmm.
I think the PBMs are going to, the big, large PBMs that are in that traditional spread pricing model are going to continue to lose more and more membership because ultimately they are the problem. They are the
Right.
core problem of this industry.
Right, right, right. And that's a like probably another topic for another day on how that works and what could be done. Um, but let's talk a little bit about, okay, so you're in the business you're in. You have two other side hustles, businesses. And how did that come about? Which one came first, and how did you get interested, and how did you add it to your plate? Because I'm sure you're busy during the day. Now you have something else that you added to. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, every businessman knows that you don't sleep and you don't rest, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. Any CEO out there who's working for a startup company will laugh at the phrase, work-life balance, because there is no work-life balance. So,
Right. Yeah.
as I've continued to become more successful in my career, the branching out of starting different businesses and kind of doing different things and diversifying my portfolio as a businessman really made sense and really made it kind of an important turning point in my life where I said, I it's great that I'm, headed down this path with my career and that is my sole focus day to day, every day, right? But there was
Hmm.
other things that I'm interested in life, and there's other things I want to do. Kind of like having hobbies and things like that. But business is my hobby, and so the
Right.
first one was starting a classic car business. I looked for cars that my generation was really starting to lust over. The cars anywhere from like 1983 up to 2004, where we were, teenagers and younger adults where we couldn't afford those cars, but we were lusting after them for forever, right?
Yeah.
Now that my generation is in that discretionary income phase, they can afford to buy these cars in either mint condition or restored fashion or what have you. And so
Hmm.
I have continued had an eye on the market of things that have gone through that moment where they were really hot and heavy when people had money to buy them, and
Hmm.
now that my generation now has this discretionary income to relive those moments in their past
Right.
lives,
Right.
they want to look for these things that really set them on fire when they were younger. And
Right.
so
Yeah.
there are a lot of cars out there that aren't $100,000 Porsches that people are looking for: S2000s, Mitsubishi Lancer Evolutions, STIs, Fox Body Mustangs. Cars that people don't assume are classics, but
Right.
they're future classics, which is the name of my
Right.
business, Future Classics. And so
Right.
I think inevitably they will be considered classics in the long line, and every decade has those classic cars. But
Right.
it's kind of a new age way of thinking of car collecting.
So then you buy these cars, you restore them, or you buy them fully restored, and you're just kind of building, let's say, a museum of these cars.
I wish I had a museum, Danny. That would be fantastic. I'm sure my wife would not appreciate if I had 40 cars sitting around our house. That would definitely be one of my dreams. I think is having quite a collection of cars. No, I look for cars that are maybe people don't want to take a risk on. So looking for cars that are in different parts of the country and things like that.
Hmm.
That
Hmm.
I know how to restore, or I know how to make look better and fixed better and be more, XYZ way or XY, A way.
Right.
And I bring them to California, bring them to Orange County. I do what needs to be done to the cars, whether that be restoring the paint, restoring the interior, or restoring them with stock parts or what have
Hmm.
you.
Hmm.
And then I bring them to the markets that I think that have, see the most value in them.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. So that's kind of a fun business there, right? Like you
Yeah,
said, I mean, we all grew up and there were the cars that everybody had at that time. And being able to go back and really buy them now, because when we were young, we didn't have any money to do it. Um,
exactly.
And now you can do it. All the guys that used to like those cars are older. Like you said, they have the money. So guess what? They buy the cars once you're fully restored. So that seems like a super fun business.
Yeah,
Meeting
definitely a passion project of mine.
Yeah, yeah. Now then, but you also have a UPS store, and those are like really handy for sending out packages, for getting documents notarized or copied or emailed if you don't have computers and that kind of stuff, like small businesses type of thing. Tell us a little bit about how you started that and how that's going.
The drive to own a small business on a retail front was really built around the fact that I grew up in a small business. So my parents ran a stationery company called Newport Stationers for about 45 years. It was a very community-based business. We had about 5 retail locations, and I grew up in that environment where
Hmm.
everybody contributed, everybody worked these community stores, and you interacted with customers. You knew them by their first name, right? It's the same thing that
Hmm.
Target's doing now, right? The 10 and
Yeah.
5. Where having a smile, knowing a person's name, knowing the business that they're serving has really been a passion of mine as well. And so,
Hmm.
one of the ways that I thought that I could reinvest back into the community was through the UPS store. So,
Hmm.
with our family and with my kind of natural sales guidance, we opened the store in Costa Mesa, so it's on the corner of Red Hill and Bristol. It's been open for just over 3 years now, and we're just starting to see the turnaround from that 3 years of hard work. And so I'm really proud of the team that we have in place at the store today. We help everybody from small businesses to auto mechanics to you
Right.
know realtors and whatnot. Like you said, notaries, packaging, shipping, printing,
Hmm.
mailboxes, everything.
Yeah. Now, so you started that store because there's a lot of UPS stores. You didn't buy one that was in existence. You started a brand new one.
We built one. Yep.
Oh, that's interesting. So there's a difference there, right? Between buying cash flow an existing store to building one. When you build one, you have to have cash outlay for your equipment, your mailboxes, your countertops, everything going in there, and then you have to build up the clientele. How
Yeah.
hard is it to build clientele in the business and make the business profitable?
It's difficult. It is very, very, very difficult to build up the clientele. And I will say that there's a lot to do with, making sure that the clientele knows about you, hears about you, and comes back, right? Everybody needs
Mhm.
those return
Right.
customers. And
Yeah.
so it took about 3 years for people to realize not only where we were, but that we were providing the elevated service that we were. If you compare us
Hmm.
to other UPS stores within the market, there are plenty of great examples of UPS stores, but I know for a fact our UPS store is very unique and one of the best that are out there in the market in Orange County today. And so to me, it's how I run my business, not only from the PBM perspective to the car flipping business, the UPS business. It's all about serving the community and making sure that people are well educated about the options that they have in front of them, and then what you can do to kind of put their business at the forefront of the experience.
Right. So it seems like everything you learned as you were a kid in your family's business, now you're just using the same skills and applying them for yourself.
Absolutely, a solid foundation in business acumen growing up definitely helped propel me in business today.
Yeah, that's kind of getting a head start in the business area because that's something you're not going to learn in any school, right? It's because you
No.
had the real experience of being in the stores, of interacting, of getting your parents to coach you and show you how to treat customers and get them to come back and getting to know them on a personal level. That's all very warming to the customer so that they want to continue to come back.
I think the biggest thing is the biggest education that any child can receive is not only someone who's being present with them and kind of
Hmm.
learning with them, but also the observation that goes along with it. It's
Hmm.
great to be involved in that environment, but if you're not looking around and observing what's going on in the interactions between not only customers
Right.
and business professionals and those types of things, then you're not really taking it to the next step. You know what I mean? I think that's
Yeah.
one of the things that
Yeah.
we lack in this digital modern era is that everybody's so bogged down with their phone, right? And they're
Yeah.
not looking
Yeah.
around and saying like, what are
Mm-mm.
people actually doing? What are people actually wanting? They want that contact, the interaction. And
Right.
so that's one of the things that I've been so heavily invested in my life is that watch what's going on around you. You can pick up a
Hmm.
lot by just looking around and observing and
Right.
thinking about it.
Yeah. And as a parent, having children, whatever you do, your children are watching you. So you can
Exactly.
actually teach that way just by leading by example. It's super
Yep.
powerful with that.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, no, awesome. So now as we get ready to wrap up the interview, exciting things that you're working on in the next 6 to 12 months?
Right now we're in a growth phase where I think we're still trying to grow all of those three different businesses. Med One has seen a tremendous amount of growth this year, and they brought me on board about 2 years ago to kind of look after the market that's a little bit more complex. So I'm very excited to see what this company has done, or rather has done, and then is going to do over the next 6 to 12 months, where we're going to be in a completely different market segment than I think we were before, which we're ready for, and I love that. The car business is one of those passion projects where I just can't get enough of. So, the minute I find another car to, invest in and restore or what have you, it's always going to be there. So the growth is always
Right.
going to can be consistent. And as far as the UPS store, same thing. With us being in our third year, we're excited to see kind of the product that has come about and the refinement that we've experienced over the last couple of years. And we're all in on making sure that this thing continues to grow within the community and making sure that the business owners around us, because let's face it, within a 3-mile radius is really the people that you're serving. We're excited to kind of see what they're going to bring us and what challenges we can help them with.
Are there any plans to buy more or create more UPS stores?
It might not be a UPS store, but I do have my eye on a couple of additional industries that I'm looking to break into, and I would definitely be including some of the staff that I highly lean on for the UPS store today. I'm also going to be a father for the first time next year, so I will have a lot of focus split between a lot of different projects.
Congratulations on fatherhood. It's
Thank
a
you.
life changer in a good way. Life as you know it will be over, and a new chapter.
Or it will just start, right? And so I'm very excited to see that,
Yes,
the next chapter in my life.
That's a good way of putting it. Exactly. I have four boys. But
Oh,
my
that's
oldest
fantastic.
is 24 and between 20 to 24. So I kind of went through that already.
Right.
Nice. It's cool times. You really enjoy that. That's cool.
I'm
And
stoked.
congratulations on that. Now, thanks so much for sharing your story and what you got going on. If somebody's listening and they'd like to get a hold of you, how can they get a hold of you?
Best way to get a hold of me is reach out to me on LinkedIn, John Tackman, and LinkedIn, and I'm happy to help them with anything they need.
Amazing. Well, John, thanks so much for coming on. And to our audience, please go to ocpowerplayers.com and follow us on your favorite channel. Thanks, John.
Thanks, Danny. Have a great day.
Thanks for listening to Orange County Power Players. Want to share your success story? Apply to be a guest at ocpowerplayers.com/guest.